Hello. So, a lot of people have asked me to upload more, and unfortunately, I don't really have as much time as I would like. And for me to upload a video, I would have to completely record every single part of a speed paint and to edit it and all that jazz. So, that's why I started this series where I'm just going to show my progress as I work in parts. So, it's kind of like a live stream that's not live or streaming. But, anyways. So this is also kind of a tutorial for watercolor. I had a hard time trying to describe it in the other run-throughs I did for this video, so I would rather just show you than to just say, do this, and this is how I did it and why. Like, that will make this video 4 hours, and I have a feeling it's going to be very long. Warning. So anyways, so I debated whether I wanted to paint this one, or paint this one, or paint this one. So I wasn't sure. I don't always ink my watercolor art, so I think maybe I'll just work a little on this one because someone said that they would like to see this colored. And that was on Instagram, by the way. I mostly post my art on Instagram and sometimes Pagey World. So for this, I'm going to be using the round brush from the Maestro series of brushes, the 15 series. I will be reviewing this later on, but right now I'm just testing it, so this will just be kind of like one of my tests because I've tested it before. So let's see. I'm going to start with the skin tone. So if you watched my watercolor basics video, then you will know how I made the skin color. If not, then go ahead and watch that first, because you need a basic understanding of watercolor itself and how it reacts to the paper and the pigments. So here I just have a regular old cup of water, nothing special. And typically you will want to have 2 cups of water, one for cleaning your brush and one for mixing colors, but I really don't care. This is just going to be kind of a crap coloring, if you may. So let's begin. Let's start with the girl. So I'm just going to grab some water, put it on my brush. My brush is full of water now, and I'm just going to pick up some skin color. And I'm going to be using my Sakura Koi watercolor set here, as you can see, and I'm using this color, which I made in the other basics video. So I'm just going to take that, maybe a little more water, and I'm going to paint. So you have the option of either, no, there's not enough water. When there's not enough water, then the paint comes on or applies the paper very, very darkly. So an option for coloring skin, either you can color the whole thing or you can just paint where the shadows would be. So the light source is coming from above, so I don't really have to worry too much about my shadows. I sometimes color the whole face, and sometimes I just do this where I just color the sides to show more highlights, but you can do whatever you want, whatever you prefer. And I kind of use watercolor to substitute for Copics because I don't always like to color with markers, and I'm kind of cheap, so I don't feel like having to spend all the money on the refills. I only like to use the colors that I absolutely need, and I don't want to have to use like all these other colors as well, so I just paint like the other colors and then use Copics to shade and add detail. And I rather like it that way. Some people just like coloring with marker, but I happen to love watercolor. It's my forte. Well, kind of. I don't know. I actually just started it last summer. I had been painting before, but all of my paintings kind of sucked. So that's why I didn't really watercolor at the beginning of my channel. So here, after you apply the color, if you want it to blend out kind of like that, well, not really blend, but to kind of grade outwards, just use more water, and that's what I've been doing. So here I am just applying more color. And then you know, that looks pretty gradated, so I'm just going to leave it like that. And whenever you notice your brush getting dry and not as fluid, just add more water. Just dip it in your water and you should be good to go. So there we have the coloring for there, and then now I'm going to color her arm. So another way to make a gradient is to apply a nice layer of water beforehand, and then to get your color and just let it melt in. It's kind of like with marker. If you take the colorless blender and you apply a layer first, then you apply the shading and the coloring on top, you'll see that it fades into it and it looks very smooth. So it's the same thing with watercolor. And this is the canson or canson, whatever you want to call it. This is, oh, that's too much. So I'm just gonna grab my trusty little thingamajig, sorry, I forgot what it's called, my paper towel, and I'm just going to dab at that and then just spread it out. So I guess it's a little bit too pink at the moment, so I'm going to add some more water. And this is a trick if you added too much color. While marker is not as forgiving, watercolor is, so you can just take some water and dab at it and it becomes lighter. Which is one of the best things about watercolor, which is also why I love it so. And sorry if you're hearing a lot of shaking and whatnot. It's my mic. It's connected to my headphones, and I keep grabbing the paper towel, and it's making a lot of noise. So I apologize. So it doesn't look that smooth, and that's because of the paper. I'm using the Console Mixed Media paper, and they changed the formula or just how they make the paper, so it's not as smooth and nice as it used to be, but this is what I drew this on, so I kind of have no choice. But I like to use this paper for little doodles, like here, this little sketch. So I'm just gonna try and get a little, that's not too bad, a little bit too pink for my liking, but I guess it's okay. And some of you might notice that my paper right now is not warping, and that's because I'm not using a lot of water. It is to some extent, but it's not too bad. And I noticed if your paper is lightly wrinkling and warping or whatever, if you just place a heavy textbook on top, it somehow manages to flatten it, or flatten the paper to some extent. So now I'm just going to add some more skin color. By the way, for this type of video, I'll probably be doing it in parts where I'll be coloring, maybe I'll color the skin and eyes for this one, and then another part for the other video. So it's better for you to see what I'm doing than me just telling you how to do it like in a regular tutorial, so you can just watch and learn, and I'll occasionally describe what I'm doing at the moment. You know, I might just make these videos into live stream type things, because, you know, YouTube actually has like a live stream option, so that'd be kind of fun, I guess. I'm not really a big streamer in general, but it seems kind of fun, and if you guys can, I guess, comment and ask questions as I work, that'd be cool too. So that sounds pretty nice. And now I'm just gonna add a little. So around here is almost dry, so either you can do wet on wet, which I did over there, and you can see right here, this paper, it's like peeling. Not good, but once it's dry, it'll be better, hopefully. At least I hope. Yeah, this paper is just like weird. It has like these little fibers in it that come off, and I just can't deal with it. But anyways, so here it's all dry now, so I'm just going to work. Okay, sorry for that little interruption, and that is what happens whenever I try to do speed paints. My phone runs out of battery, or I just completely run out of space, and it's really annoying. So anyway, as I was talking about before, I was going to show you wet on dry, which is when the paint below is already dry and you're painting on top. You can also achieve a gradient that way, but since my phone, which I record from, decided to be an ass, I'm going to do it with the cheeks instead. And excuse my novice French, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I really don't know what I'm talking about anymore. So anyways, so here I'm just applying the color, and when you want it to gradate, you just grab some more water and you add more. So that's what I'm doing. And certain paints or certain pigments will stain your paper, so you have to work a little faster. And I'm not an expert on pigments, but I do know that for some reason the magentas and the reds just happen to stain a little bit easier than the other pigments, so you have to work fast to not disperse or disintegrate, just kind of to spread the color around. So there you can see that it kind of gradated outwards. Kind of want a little more color, so I'm just going to add a little more on top. And of course, it's really, really bright. That's not really what I wanted. Okay, so now I'm just spreading the color around using water. Clean my brush, and then I'm just going to kind of brush it out with more water. And sometimes if you want to gradate, you can also just lightly dab with your napkin or whatever you have, your porous material. So there's the blush. That's how I do blush, nothing special. And I guess I'll do the guy's skin now. So I want him to have more of a yellowy undertone, so I'm just going to add a little bit more yellow. So the thing about mixing colors also, I might just even make a separate video on this, but here if you see the color wheel, you do not want to be adding colors that are opposite to each other on the color wheel. So you would not want to be adding green to red or violet to yellow, like the complementary colors. That's not what you want to do, because you will either lead to muddy brown or just muddy black, just not pretty stuff. So that's why if you ever have muddy colors, that's because you're mixing colors that don't, like, it's kind of funny how it's called complementary colors, but they actually don't complement each other. They just make each other more, I guess, noticeable, more contrasted, I suppose. So that's not any more yellow than I want it to be, so dab. So if you want color to go away, just apply more water and dab at it. So now I'm going to go add a little more yellow, because that's not really what I wanted. And to lighten up colors, if you didn't watch the last basics tips video, you want to add more water if you are going to lighten. So let's see, because I want his skin tone to be a little more yellow. That's good. I don't want him to be like jaundicey or something. And if you don't know what jaundice is, it's just like a condition when your liver starts to fail and your skin becomes yellow and your scleras begin to yellow as well. So he's not quite there yet, but he definitely has more of a yellowish undertone compared to her. So here you can see me just spreading around, and I don't care if I get in the hair, who cares? It's watercolor. Be messy with it. So I'm just painting wherever I want to, mostly around the face, not the middle. And I'm adding more water here just to really blend out the color. And there you go. There's the skin. Has a little fuzz on him. That's not cool. So the great thing about watercolor is the more color you add, you can get shadows without even trying. So here it looks like it's shaded, but it's not. So that's the feng shui thing about it. And yes, I just said feng shui. I'm just a weird person. So here I am adding, yeah, so over there's hair. Here, his skin on his neck. Okay, you probably didn't notice that, but I had to leave to answer the phone, and I don't know why. I don't know if this happens to any of you guys, but whenever you try to make videos, you always get these really obnoxious interruptions. So the phone always happens to ring whenever I'm doing like a tutorial or something where I can't just speed it up and mute the video. So it's really aggravating, but whatever. I think these progress videos are probably going to be more lax and just chill, where, let's say, if I do this, you guys can grab your sketchbook and whatever and just draw with me, just for fun, and just listen to me blabber on about whatever. But, I hope this is helping a little bit, because it's not really a tutorial, because I can't really describe what I'm doing. You just kind of have to understand it, so it takes a long time. So here I'm doing wet on wet, which is wet paint on a wet layer, and it kind of gradates, as you can see that. You don't see any type of harsh line. And sometimes I do like the harsh line, but you can't really see it here. I usually do that with the darker layers. So the thing with watercolor is that either you can go really light with the shading, or you can really add some detail. If you guys know Emperor Pep, I think that's how you pronounce their name, he or she is very, very great at adding depth and adding a lot of color. And then other watercolorists like to be really soft about their coloring, and I kind of prefer both soft shading and cell shading. And if you're familiar with digital art, cell shading is where you kind of just add that really stark shading and you don't blend it out. Kind of like the type of shading you see in anime. So that hand is done with the base color, and now on to this hand. By the way, if you follow me on Instagram or Pagey World, you would have seen that I posted this image on there, but I only posted like not the whole thing, and that's because Instagram and Pagey World, for some reason, they have size limits, so I have to post at like a certain size for it to be shown, or it's gonna cut out some, so that's why it's in squares. So he's colored much more yellow, but that's good, that's what I wanted. And now let's go for her. She is my new OC, actually. If you guys, my older, well, not even older, just like my subscribers from before, I used to color or draw Nozomi a lot. Well, now I'm starting to draw this OC, and her name is Rio. So it can either be spelled like Kyo or Rio, the Italian way, I guess, like R-I-O, but okay, anyways, enough of that. She's just my newest OC, and I quite adore her because of her cute short hair. And I feel like girls with short hair just don't get enough credit nowadays, and I personally love short hair, and I would want to cut mine short. But I have long hair, like very long hair, so people are always like, it's always easier to cut your hair than to grow it, so that's why I'm just leaving mine the way it is. It like goes all the way down my back, like past my back and down to my thigh almost. Okay, so here for the eye, I don't have a way to color water. I am so sorry, guys. I encountered another obnoxious interruption, and that was my phone just dying, like completely dying. So now I'm recording from a different phone, and this is so aggravating. See, now this is why I don't upload too many videos anymore. That's because my phone is it's just too much for me to handle. So anyways, as I was saying about the eyes, since the eyes are so small, it's kind of hard for me to control the water, so that's why I just kind of add one color and then I add another, and it's nothing really special at all, and I have a lot of trouble controlling the color. So here I just shaded it with my pencil, and that's kind of how my newish style of drawing eyes is. And the reason why I changed my way of drawing my eyes is because I wanted a more artistic feel to it, because after being introduced to Tokyo Ghoul like a few months back, I've just been so into the more artistic, expressional, is that a word? Emotional type of eyes, I guess. So anyways, since I already shaded that, I'm just going to add a little bit of a darker green to it, just because I can. No specific reason. Da-da-da. And, you know, I guess it looks okay. I'm not too crazy about it, so let me just gradate it a little bit more. And beware that if you add too much water, then your color is going to overflow, so you have to really control the watercolor. And by doing that, you have to like add enough water, but not too much. And now that's getting too much. So what I'm doing right now is called scraping, where I kind of, my brush isn't loaded with water at all, so I just take it and I scrape the color away, and then I wipe it off onto my paper towel. So there, her eye is done. Her eye is done, and you know, I forgot to color her eyelid there, so I'm just gonna go add some of that. And again, just a warning, this is gonna be a long video, because this is real time, so this is how long it usually takes me to color. Well, except I didn't have to deal with all those obnoxious interruptions, of course. So, you know, maybe I'll work on her hair next. So I'm going to split this into parts. So I'm probably going to color the hair and then his hair and then be done with this part. And hopefully I can do the next part tomorrow and upload that one tomorrow. So this way, if I record my progress as I work on stuff, instead of waiting for the whole speed paint to get done or the whole piece to get done, I can get more videos up, and if you guys like these, I'll do more. So let's see, I wanted her hair to be a brownish orangey color, so I guess I'll just show you guys. So here's my set, and since I want an orangey brownish color, I already have this on my palette, and it's kind of yucky here, but what can I do? So I'm just gonna grab some of this orange here. Not too much. You know, someone asked me a very interesting question about how to maintain your set and not have it look messy and stuff, because here, as you can see here, other people have way more of this, like this, I don't know what it's called, just like the splashing around, and I'm not really too fond of that, so all I do is just make a few quick little swipes. So now I'm going to add some brown. So another thing that you might want to consider doing is swatching your colors. So just take a piece of paper, like whatever set you're using, and just swatch all the colors down. And what you just saw me do is, I didn't clean my brush after, there's a fuzz, get out of there. Okay, no, get off. Okay, sorry. You saw me go into this, but I didn't clean my brush before going into that, so don't do that. That's going to mix up all your colors. I normally don't do that, but I was just feeling really, really lazy. So, now we have this mixed, and it seems light enough, and you really want to work light to dark. You don't want to just get one really dark brown color and then just color the hair that way. It's much harder to handle, and it's not as pretty, so... Yeah, that's a little bit too much water, and when you have a little too much water, you can't control the watercolor as nicely, so I'm just going to try and apply as much color as I can. And if you're using watercolor to replace Copics, you'll notice that some of the brushes, if they are better quality, they will spring, and this one springs very well. but I'll include that in the review when I actually get to it. And I don't like to review things until I've used it quite a bit to know how it functions, like if it works for my purposes. And so far I'll just say that this brush is quite nice. So anyways, you can color your hair however you like it. You can color the whole head and then just shade on top like I used to, or you can just be really, really lazy about it and just color where you feel like it. But remember that the lighter your color is, or the base color is, the easier it is to work with. So now I'm just going to move this that way. And if you want, if your hair is still wet, you can also, oops, colored over that, oh well. It's not too much of a big deal since this color is so light. But, same with marker. If you just go off using a really dark color off the bat, it's going to be hard to lighten it up in the event that you would need to. And that won't be fun. So I'm just painting this part, and I left a lot of it white, but I don't really care. That's kind of how I color nowadays. So I'm just going to take some of this and white and dab it with the paper towel. So this has got to be one of my most laid back videos ever, because I'm just going with the flow here. I'm not even trying to talk professionally, quote unquote professionally. So while I let that dry, I'm just going to work on his hair now. And I like to work wet on dry a lot, so that's why I'll like color the base color first and then move on to another thing and color that base color and then go back or color something else. So now onto his hair. You know, I never actually thought of what color I want his hair to be, because I've only ever thought of her hair in my little imaginary headcanon, or my imaginary little series. So, let's see here. How about a maroon? No. You know, I haven't had a guy with green hair yet, but her eyes are already green, so that's not fun. And this is also a step into my head about how I think about, how I think up my OCs. So, if her eyes are green, maybe I'll just color his hair green, just for the heck of it. So, I'm going to start from the middle here. And of course, you know it's going to be an anime character if the hair is like some kind of unnatural color, so nothing special. So here I'm just spreading it out, and I'm noticing that my brush is running out of water, so I'm just going to dip it back in and continue on my way. So I don't really color hair the same for each picture. I just go with the flow. So for this one, I left parts white, while this one I colored from the middle outwards where the roots are. So it honestly just varies how you feel, if you want to do it this way or do it another way, because there's just so many ways you can paint, because there's not just one way. So his hair is a very artificial green color, so I'm just going to add this very, I don't know, olive color. It's kind of ugly, but whatever. Let's see what happens. If I don't like it, then I can just color over it. And watercolor is transparent, so just so you guys know. So I'm not really liking that olive too much, so I'm going to add some of this lime green color instead. I think I'm going to shade his hair with black, so basically these would just end up as his highlights anyways, so just adding it on while the paper is still wet. Okay, that's a little better. Then over on this side, I think I'm going to mix a darker green, so like this side I want it to be darker. So I'm just going to mix some of that. Yeah, this video is getting quite long, but I hope it's not boring you guys too much. And I know in the last video, some people have said that my voice is too low, and that's because of the microphone I'm using. So I'm trying to make the volume louder, but I don't know, it's a little difficult. So I'm just going to wipe that off, get a little more of that lime green color. Sorry you can't see what I'm mixing. I kind of don't feel like lifting my hand to bring the palette over because I'm just that lazy. So now I'm just gonna go in here, and it's okay if you go outside the lines, just don't go really whack about it. So there we are. And a thing you might want to know is that when you're coloring or when you're painting, when the paint over here is dry, or is wet, I mean, do not paint the skin over here while this is still drying. And that's because there is a very high chance that you are going to have the wet paint from over here transfer into the skin or vice versa, and that's not fun. You don't want green or whatever color that's the hair in your skin, so that's just something to note. So now I'm just painting that, and we should be done with this very interesting colored hair. It's kind of funny. I never expected the hair to be that way, but it's kind of cool in a way. So let me just add some more of this. Da 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 da. So now my brush is running out of water, and I'm starting to actually scrape the colors underneath. So I'm gonna re-wet those spots and try to smooth them out. Okay. So this video is getting quite long. I'm sorry. But that's just how things are gonna be. So now instead of actually making a darker color for this, since watercolor is transparent, I'm just going to use the exact same color and just go over top. That's one of the great things about watercolor, is that you can just reuse the colors on and on and on. So now I'm just lightly shading, nothing too special here. And I like to turn the page just so that's easier for me to work. So just shade wherever you would normally shade, and I just do flickering motions. I do not blend any of these shadows out, just so you guys know. I have an eraser mark right there. Oh well. Okay, so I'm going to get some more water, and I'm going to go back over the places where I need to shade. Okay. So that's pretty much all it is for my shading, to be honest with you. And all I do is add maybe like 2 more layers or even 3 more layers just with a darker color. So, because I don't want her hair to be too dark, so I don't want to add too many layers. So over here needs more, so I'm going to add some of that. Okay, so that's about good. Then I completely forgot to shade the other side at all, so I'm going to go do that. Okay, so now it's just one shade deeper, so I'm going to wait for that to dry and get on with the guy. And just a warning, I'm not very familiar with painting guy hair because I don't really draw guys often, let alone color them. So right now this is the first time I'm going to be coloring guy hair, so just a warning to you. Hey, you'll see me fail at this if I do end up failing. You know, and the funny thing is that normally I use a smaller brush, but this brush, it's very pointed at the end, so it's like I don't even need a small one. And I'm not even like bluffing. I actually believe this because I can make the little tiny strokes that I normally make just using the end of this one brush. That's cool. So here I'm just making little strokies, nothing special here. So to indicate that there are strands, I like to make these little strokes here and there, because I think it's cool and it works with my laziness. So here we are. And up there, as you can see, that was rather dark, so I should probably go back and add some more of those. So my brush is losing its water, and as you can see, I just added more, and now the colors are much more vibrant than before. So I'm just emphasizing certain strokes here. And that's still a little wet, so just gonna add a few more. And to be honest, I've been using the same green color I used for this portion right here, so I'm not even mixing anything new. So you just need to practice. If you go onto my Instagram or Pagey World and look at my first watercolor drawings at, I don't know, around like June last year, you will see that most of my watercolor pieces were atrocious and absolutely not pretty. So it took me a while, but I learned and I adjusted. And you know what? I like watercolor the best out of all of my mediums. It's just who I am. I just like it. I have markers, and I do love coloring with markers, but I prefer watercolor. Okay, this video is getting very long, so I think I will stop here, and hopefully I can upload another video, maybe in a few days, of me coloring the majority of the rest of this. So, hope you enjoyed watching my real-time watercoloring. Yeah, just me watercoloring. So, see you guys later, and bye!